Palestinian liberation to the State House to share this message today. We welcome all visitors to enjoy the use of the State House, and we request that our guests follow the rules of order related to decorum and safety. We ask that all guests remain in place, keep the walkways clear, and refrain from disruptive conduct. We have a group of speakers today, and I hope to have a productive and peaceful presentation. With that, I will turn it over to Ashley Smith to get us started.
Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year. It's been a horrible year. I hope this coming one will be far better. And thank you in particular to Senator Gahovsky. My name is Ashley Smith. I'm a member of the Vermont Coalition for Palestinian Liberation. We are here today in dark times, times that try our souls, test our principles, and challenge our courage to defend them. The Trump administration is imposing authoritarian rule in the U.S. and imperial dominance in the Western Hemisphere, as demonstrated by his coup in Venezuela. For the last 2 years, under the Biden administration and Trump administration, the U.S. and Israel have carried out genocide in Gaza, ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, and war throughout the Middle East. Our Air National Guard participated in the coup in Venezuela, and our tax dollars funded and armed Israel's crimes against humanity in Palestine. That makes U.S. foreign policy a local issue, a Vermont issue. We have called this press conference for 2 reasons. First, we are asking legislators to demand the immediate resignation of 5 representatives: Will Greer, Matthew Barong, James Gregory, Sarah Austin, and Gina Galfetti. They went on an all-expenses-paid trip to Israel as it carried out the genocide we've witnessed for the last 2 years. This was not a fact-finding mission. They did not meet with Palestinian organizations or even Israeli human rights organizations like B'Tselem. They instead met with the Israeli government, the war criminals that have been killing Palestinians on mass scale for the last 2 years. To do what? To get advice on passing legislation in support of Israel and preventing the passage of legislation in support of Palestinians. Vermont's legislators rightly demanded the immediate resignation of Sam Douglas for his participation in a racist and anti-Semitic Republican chat. Vermont legislators should demand the same of the 5 that went to Israel. Sam Douglas resigned because of words. We are demanding that the 5 resign because of their deeds of aiding and abetting the genocide in Palestine. As elected representatives of Vermont, they implicated our state in Israel's atrocities. Second, we are calling on legislators to redeem Vermont's reputation and act consistent with its proud tradition of opposing war, occupation, and apartheid. To do that, we are asking legislators to oppose the Shalom Alliance's Bill 310 that would impose a pro-Israeli curriculum on our education system. It would require teachers to indoctrinate students in Israeli apartheid, which denies equal rights for Palestinians within its borders and the occupied territories. Instead, we are calling on our legislators to follow the example set by former Governor Madeleine Kunin on South Africa. She stood for the oppressed black people of South Africa against apartheid. Everybody in Vermont should do the same for Palestinians. Legislators should also follow the example of the recently inaugurated new mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani, who on his first day in office struck down Eric Adams' executive orders against Palestinians and Palestine solidarity activists. He overturned the city's ban on boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel. And he overturned the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which equates any criticism of the state of Israel with anti-Semitism. Legislators should follow their examples by supporting the Vermont Coalition for Palestinian Liberation's bills introduced into the State House. We are asking you to vote for Bill 168 that defends the right of teachers to educate their students about Palestine and its history. We are asking you to vote for our bill that defends the right of all activists, including Palestinians and Palestine solidarity activists, to organize, to speak out, to protest, to lobby, to occupy public space when it is so much in danger in our country today. Finally, we are asking legislators to support our bill that pledges Vermont to become an apartheid-free state. Vermont has an opportunity to lead the nation in these dark times. It is a time for principle. It is a time for courage. And it is a time for action. With that, I want to introduce our first speaker for our press conference. Please welcome Wafik Baur from the Vermont Coalition for Palestinian Liberation.
What do we need today? Why we are in the People's House as members of Vermont citizens, what do we need today? We are asking the legislator on the House and the Senate, we need you to be courageous and bold. We're asking them to ask those 5 representatives who visited Israel to resign or to be expelled. Those 5 representatives, it wasn't coincident that they went to Israel, have been invited by Zionist lobbies here in Vermont to go over there and meet Israeli leaders who are responsible for genocide, responsible for starvation, responsible for ethnic cleansing. And they sat down with them and they listened to them. And those Israeli leaders, they lectured them. They lectured those 5 and the 245 others from other states. And they sent them back over here in a mission. And they told them to march and support Israel regardless of its reputation. What we see is the truth, not what they say, not what the Israeli says. We saw the genocide. We are the Palestinians. We experience genocide. Our family every day facing death. They're coming over here to represent on this great house, on the People's House, bills that will make a meeting like this, it will make press conference like this illegal. They're going to call it anti-Semitic. This is what is happening now. I call all of you not to leave Palestine alone. Palestine in the house today, but we are not leaving. We're going to come again and again. We're going to reject racism, all kind of racism against our black, brown people, against LGBTQ, against our indigenous people. We're going to stand all together. Palestinians have been otherized, but we are part of a great people. We are part of many other people. And we're going to stand together. And we're going to introduce a bill to reject apartheid in Palestine and all racism in here at home. So please stay with us. It is very necessary. Last thing, did you see the picture of those 5 people planting Vermont flag on Kharbet Sarah in a Palestinian village? As if Vermont House, this building, sent them over there to conquer Palestinians over there. Is this Vermont tradition? Do Vermonters accept something like that?
No.
Solidarity.
as you repeat, please welcome Samia Abbas from the Southern Vermont Coalition for Palestine. Come on up, Samia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Samia. I'm a Palestinian American. I live and organize in southern Vermont, and I am proud to stand here with the Vermont Coalition of Palestinian Liberation and many others today. There is so much to say about the choice of these representatives to go on the 50 States, One Israel propaganda trip. You'll hear from many people today about the ethical and political implications of the trip. I want to talk a little bit about what it means to me as a Palestinian American. The thing that struck me the most after the 5 legislators returned was the picture of them, as Wafiq named, planting a tree along with the Vermont flag in the stolen and occupied land of Palestine. What this photo represents is a long-standing pattern that has been marked for us in history and highlighted by the U.S.-Israel genocide of Gaza that we have seen on our screens for the last 2 years. This photo represents the colonizer, the settler, the imperialist, and it affirms the deep interconnection not only of our country with the forever wars of imperialism and Zionism, but Vermont as well. It directly ties Vermont to Israel and thus to Palestine and what Israel is doing to Palestinians, to my people, slowly through occupation and apartheid, and swiftly through genocide, all bought and paid for by the United States government. I was part of a public records request to review the documentation and correspondence related to this trip, and one of the things that it demonstrated is that many Vermonters took issue with this particular photo. These legislators have affirmed something important. For me, and I suspect for many who live here and work here and vote here, it allows us, the people, to make no mistake that these agents of imperialism are not the answers we seek as a grassroots people's movement. So whether or not they step down, we need to continue agitating and fighting and building something new that can replace these systems of degradation, assault, genocide, and violence. These are the systems that those 5 legislators and many more like them represent. Don't look to these people to give you solutions for change. They've made it clear that they are on the wrong side of history. The corrupt and ethical practices they show are more important to them than the needs of our communities. These are people who are not going to prioritize healthcare or housing or climate justice. Instead, they stand for war, injustice, and more of the same. Last March, 5 towns voted to become apartheid-free municipalities. This town meeting day, many more towns will vote on the same ballot measure or see it introduced on the floor. This is the result of the work of hundreds of organizers dedicated and activating those who believe in a different future than these legislators represent. What being apartheid-free means is that we refuse to be complicit with the imperialist Zionist agenda. Whether it be bombs dropped on Gaza or Caracas, let us stand up as a collective movement and tell our leaders that we say no to war, to genocide, to occupation, and we will hold accountable those leaders who don't stand with us. To be apartheid-free means to stand for solidarity with Palestine and all oppressed peoples. It means to stand for socialist futures, healthcare for all, an end to the prison state, clean water and air. Let's be clear-sighted and hopeful about the possibility of our own power. Let's make Vermont an apartheid-free state. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samia. One thing that I should add that I forgot to mention is that we've gotten over 1,300 signatures and counting on our petition demanding the resignation of these 5 legislators. Next up, we want to introduce Carmela Armando and Bethany Logan, who just returned from the occupied country of Palestine, from the West Bank, where we're seeing settler colonial violence played out on a daily and increasing basis. Please welcome Carmela and Bethany.
Starting on September 14, 2025, 250 U.S. legislators from all 50 states went on a trip to Israel-Palestine, all expenses paid by Israel. 5 Vermont representatives also attended. During their trip, they were spoken to by government officials such as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, visiting historic sites guided by Israeli tour guides, and planting trees in occupied Palestinian land. This was the largest U.S. political group to ever visit Israel at once. Carmela and I went to Israel-occupied Palestine for 3 weeks in December for an interfaith delegation. We spent time mostly with Palestinian families and tour guides. Our group saw the apartheid wall throughout all locations of our trip. A wall that is being built by Israel to divide Israelis and Palestinians, which surpasses the height and length of the Berlin Wall by 2 times. We waited anywhere from 2 to 8 hours at checkpoints, guarded by the Israeli military, just to travel short distances. Did the legislators see how the Israeli occupation strangles Palestinians at every turn of their daily lives? Did the visiting legislators have to go through any checkpoints, or did they use Israeli-only roads? How can we as a state who stands for inclusion of all have these 5 legislators representing us? They must resign. The state of Vermont cannot associate itself with such hatred and misinformation.
On our trip, we saw the side of Israel's apartheid wall that subsidizes its settlers to occupy. We saw firsthand the daily harassment endured by Palestinians as we met with dozens of representatives in civil society. In Hebron, on our way to see the founder of Youth Against Settlements, Issa Amro, our delegation was pelted with rancid trash and spoiled milk by Israeli settlers as an Israeli armed guard stood nearby. We visited the Shufat refugee camp in East Jerusalem, one of the many internally displaced communities where Palestinians pay taxes for services never rendered. We played soccer with kids in Silwan as armed settlers strolled by, a community being torn apart to make way for a City of King David biblical amusement park. We visited Alice in Al-Amakur Valley, who is in constant legal battles to preserve her land after the Israeli government demolished her family home, restaurant, and farm. And she was well aware of the 50 States One Israel tour, calling Israel the 51st state of the United States. In Taipei, a small Palestinian Christian village, our delegation's every move was influenced by recent attacks from Israeli settlers who make it all but impossible for the villagers to tend to their nearby olive groves as they vandalize churches, burn cars, and continue to steal land. We visited a Bedouin community, Al-Khair, where we walked around the small village tightly surrounded by outposts and settlements with a sad little boy who watched his father murdered by bulldozers earlier this summer. We return with an agenda to raise awareness of the slow genocide of the occupied West Bank. Come and see, go and tell. The same call to the 5 Vermont representatives, but vastly different realities. We say come and see, but not on an Israeli-funded trip. We say to the 5 elected officials, drop the mask you wear, recognize that you are being used as a tool of empire to delude your constituents.
Thank you so much. There will be many public events that Carmela and Bethany will be speaking at throughout the state, so look for their events. Next up, I want to introduce Fran Miller from Jewish Voice for Peace. And I think this underscores that the Palestine Solidarity Movement is resolutely against anti-Semitism and all forms of racism. We stand for the liberation of all. Please welcome Fran Miller.
Good morning. My name is Fran Miller, and I'm speaking as a proud Jewish woman on behalf of the Vermont, New Hampshire chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace. As you know, everybody's talked about this, in September, these Vermont representatives traveled to Israel at the invitation of the country's foreign ministry to attend the 50 States One Israel event. These representatives accepted gifts from the Israeli government to participate in the event, valued at $6,500 per legislator. The gifts included the cost of travel on chartered planes to and from Israel, accommodations in luxury 5-star hotels, meals, travel within Israel, and guided tours in Jerusalem. Our legislators were being wined and dined in Israel at the same moment that Israel launched its ground assault on Gaza, with the Israeli defense minister at the same time declaring Gaza is burning. These gifts were for the purpose of lobbying our elected officials to support legislation favorable to Israel's political and economic interests, as Wafi mentioned, including legislation banning companies or American residents from engaging in boycott, divestment, and sanctions efforts against Israel, and legislation defining anti-Semitism to include any statements critical of Israel. Last week, JVP Vermont, New Hampshire filed complaints against each of the 5 legislators with Vermont's Ethics Commission, alleging that by accepting these gifts, the legislators violated 3 VSA 1203B and 1203G of the state's Code of Ethics. We call on the Ethics Commission to recommend to the House Ethics Panel that it investigate these very serious charges and take appropriate disciplinary action. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Next up, we have Doug Finney from Labor for Palestine. And before Doug speaks, I just want to underscore for all trade unionists in this state and throughout this country that Palestinian trade unions have issued a call for boycott, divestment, and sanctions, and for unions throughout the world to honor that picket line and not support the genocide in Palestine.
Hello, my name is Doug Finney. I'm a member of the Vermont Labor for Palestine group and a proud union member myself. And this statement that I'm going to read is a collective statement that was authored by union members from diverse workplaces across Vermont. Israel is far removed from Vermont geographically, but we are directly connected to the ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people. Vermont Labor for Palestine has long drawn attention to these ties, even while our opponents have continually told us that Palestine is not a local issue. The recent trip to Israel by these 5 legislators proves our point. Palestine is a local issue. Vermont sends more than $27 million each year to Israel. This could provide health care to more than 9,000 children, pay the salaries of 300 teachers, or cancel the student debt of more than 700 students. Our tax dollars should be used to support Vermont's working families, but instead, they pay for weapons that kill our fellow brothers, sisters, and siblings in Palestine. We in Vermont Labor for Palestine stand in solidarity with the Palestinian trade unions, and we join the call for the immediate resignation of these 5 state legislators. They do not represent the interests of working class Vermonters. Thank you.
As people know, recently, students across the country rose up in the encampment movement to oppose the genocide in Palestine. And our own UVM, University of Vermont, had an incredible encampment. And I want to welcome our next speaker, Logan Prewitt, from the UVM Students for Justice in Palestine.
Thank you. I want to be clear that I am speaking today on behalf of Students for Justice in Palestine at UVM, Champlain College, and Middlebury College. Any so-called representative who helps commit genocide can never be trusted on anything else. In the past 2 years alone, by the absolute lowest of figures, Israel has killed over 20,000 children. and among those it failed to kill, Israel has created the largest cohort of child amputees in world history. The 5 Vermont representatives who accepted a paid luxury trip to meet the leaders of this murderous entity and coordinate legislation with them have aided and abetted this genocide. If they were capable of shame, they would resign in disgrace immediately. As students, we offer our full support to the Vermonters demanding the resignation of these ghouls and working to create an apartheid-free Vermont. History will remember these representatives as the Genocide 5, and our campuses will know their names. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan. It takes tremendous courage to speak out on campuses right now, because the Trump administration has declared war on freedom of speech and the right to organize. We have to defend our students on all the campuses of this state and across the country and defend their democratic right to organize, protest, in particular for Palestine, but for everything else. Next up, we have a representative from the network of the apartheid-free communities, Paul Fleckenstein. I want everybody to get on the ballot on your town meeting, apartheid-free communities, and pass it this town meeting this spring. Please welcome Paul Fleckenstein.
Hello everyone, welcome. There are apartheid-free communities across the state and the region. Over 1,000 unions, faith organizations, community groups, and businesses nationally have adopted the pledge. Over 50 have in Vermont, and 5 towns have voted to adopt apartheid-free community. And 20 or so more will take it up on town meeting day, including Montpelier, which I see a sign there. We are making Vermont apartheid-free, changing the narrative on Palestine, demonstrating that Palestine is a local issue, and building the movement for boycott, divestment, and sanctions to undermine U.S. support for Israeli apartheid and genocide. The AFC pledge opposes all forms of racism and bigotry and supports all efforts for greater freedom and justice. Our movement offers a path forward beyond ethnic and colonial violence in Palestine toward equality and democracy. Our movement does not sacrifice opposing racism and anti-Semitism to the false imperative of supporting apartheid Israel. And we are working with the legislature and all those who would join us to adopt the apartheid-free community pledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Next up, we have proud legislators who have taken a stand with us in solidarity with Palestine. Most importantly, I want to introduce State Senator Tanya Gahovsky, a woman of principle and courage.
We are at the edge of a dangerous time in Vermont, in the nation, and globally. It is unconscionable to me that at this point in time, when we are facing the rise of global authoritarianism, global fascism, and global colonialism, that we would have representatives take money to go and visit a state committing an act of genocide. It is unconscionable to me that we would have them return to spread the message of those committing a genocide. We need to stand up in Vermont, in the nation, and globally, and recognize that our liberation is linked together. What happens in Palestine is coming for all of us if we do not stand up. In addition to the bills that Ashley has mentioned, because of this trip, I will be introducing a bill to strengthen our ethics rules around official travel. It is long past time that we held accountable those who oppress people here and globally, and that we came together and said no more, never again. It is time for liberation. It is time to fight oppression and not support genocide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Next up, we have Representative Saudia Lamont. Saudia? may be delayed in the long security lines. We'll welcome her when she comes. Next up, we have former Representative David Templeman.
Yes.
We're going to talk about what it means to be American, and I need to take this off because it's going to get hot. So this July, our nation will turn 250, and it's time to set the record straight. When considering our history, we are taught the story of wealthy colonists and taxes, but there is a deeper, bloodier story we have sanitized. Our history is marked by the scars of religious violence, Catholics and Protestants at each other's throats, Quakers swinging from Puritan gallows, and women burned as witches at the stake. These are the reasons for the separation of church and state. This is why we don't draw lines based on faith. These are the reasons for our First Amendment. It was no mistake these messages were enshrined as the core of our nation's founding document. 249 years later, a foreign government, a theocratic apartheid state, invited 250 state representatives, including 5 from Vermont, on an all-expense-paid trip to that nation. There they conspired with that foreign power to push BDS legislation, boycott, divestment, sanctions. This anti-BDS legislation, this foreign power seeks to curb our First Amendment rights. One of the 5 legislators who made this trip has introduced a bill that could limit how teachers discuss Israel, a bill which aims to police criticism of a foreign theocratic state whose leader is wanted for war crimes. Yeah. Right. The Talmud teaches us to destroy a single soul is to destroy an entire world. Since October 7th, over 70,000 Palestinian worlds have been extinguished. I ask you, how can it be hate speech to defend those words, to defend those worlds? What could be more in line with the loving precepts of Judaism than standing up for the innocent victims of this war? Let's make a renewed commitment. No more hate, no more killing people for how they worship, and let's fiercely defend our right to criticize foreign nations, their leaders, and even our own. Today, I exercise that right to criticize and to call these 5 Vermont legislators to resign from office. While each of them has served our state well in some respect, on this deeply sensitive issue, they were insensitive and failed to recognize the harm. They have shown confusion about what it means to be an American, a state representative, and what is happening in Gaza and the West Bank. You have demonstrated deep misunderstanding and disregard by dining with those who would test our resolve as Americans, who would divide us, who would silence us. You have failed your constituents. We must not stay quiet. This is our opportunity to unite. The majority of Americans oppose our government supporting these atrocities. Public opinion stands with the underdog. Many believe the Democratic presidential candidate's failure was due to the party's compliance with genocide. The party has a chance to redeem itself and build back some trust here in Vermont. The Democratic Party leadership wants silence. They want this to disappear. But silence is not accountability. This will not just evaporate. This is an opportunity for the Democrats. They can use this opportunity to redeem themselves and to stand with the people on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our great representatives, Tanya and David. One of the most stirring things is how the faith community has come together and to unite against the atrocities Israel is committing. And I want to introduce representatives of the faith community who have taken a bold stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people in their moment of greatest need. Please welcome John Hermans, who is a member of the Episcopal Church here in Vermont.
Salam alaikum. My name is John Hermans, a retired forester from Essex Junction. I worship with the Episcopalian Church. the silence of the churches throughout the world to stand up for the Palestinians and denounce the ongoing genocide is pathetic. Such a blatant lack of integrity and courage goes against the essence of the teachings of Jesus, who stood up for the oppressed. The Episcopal Diocese of Vermont is an exception. In 2025, the Diocese of Vermont passed a resolution at their convention in Burlington. The name of the resolution is Resolution Calling for an End to Genocide and Lasting Peace in Gaza. The resolution was voted on by delegates from all the Episcopal churches in Vermont. It passed by 93%. I do not have the authority to speak on behalf of the Episcopal Diocese of Vermont, but as a Christian and the main author of the resolution on genocide, I support the coalition of organizations who are asking for the accountability for the 5 legislators for accepting an all-expense-paid trip to Israel during an ongoing genocide. They should be held accountable and resign. Whether they resign or not, the message of this action is clear for the people in Vermont and across the country. If you drink from the toxic cup of Israel and U.S. propaganda, there are consequences.
I've been asked to remind people the names of the 5 that we're demanding resignations from. Those 5 are Will Greer, Matthew Barram, James Gregory, Sarah Austin, and Gina Galfetti. It is time for accountability. It is time for justice. There are consequences to supporting genocide. Next up, we have Reverend Chelsea Page from the United Church of Christ in Burlington, Vermont. Please welcome Chelsea.
Good morning. I've served Congregationalist and Lutheran churches, currently live in Burlington. As you've heard, the tide of public opinion in the religious community, both the American Jewish community and the mainline Christian community, is turning against Israel. This is not anti-Semitic, this is not anti-Israeli, this is about basic humanity. And so you don't need a woman of the cloth to school you in basic morality, but just...
Yes, we do.
Amen. So if a citizen or a professional hangs out in the State House and talks to a legislator about policy, that's lobbying. That's fine. But if you give them a bunch of money to go to Israel and only hear one side of the story, that is bribery. And that is an ethical violation. While you're in Israel, if you sit and listen to the speech, the keynote speech of Benjamin Netanyahu, a mass murderer, that is morally repugnant. Yes. Yeah. And it should make us sick. Despite what you may have heard from Christian Zionists in the media, empathy is still the core teaching of the biblical faiths and all religions. And so I'll end by asking you, if an occupying power financed by another government pushed Vermonters from their farms and homes and destroyed all hospitals, businesses, schools, universities, and infrastructure because a small number of Vermonters had committed a crime, wouldn't you hope for international support to respect your right to life and land? Yes, you would. That's how Vermonters feel. That is how people of faith feel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. One of the most important things of the Palestine Solidarity Movement is that we stand in solidarity with all oppressed and exploited people without exception. We are for solidarity above all else. That's why we're proud to introduce Reverend Mark Hughes from the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance. Their struggle is our struggle.
I'm still here. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Shalom.
Blessings and peace to all of you. My name is Reverend Mark Hughes. I'm the Executive Director of the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance, and I'm a Black Baptist preacher. So buckle up. So I've been asked to cut this short. It's a doggone shame because I worked so hard on it. But we're gathered today on the first day of this legislative session with the rightful concern about 5 legislators and their participation in the, thank you so much, the 50 states, one Israel trip. But I need to be clear. This moment is bigger than those 5 individuals.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So there's something we need to slow down and look at. This is about edifice. This is about edifice, a structure of racial policy violence that executes genocide abroad and racial violence at home.
That's right.
Under the same logic, the same dehumanization, the same protection from accountability. The same system that funds bombs overseas and also funds surveillance, policing, and incarceration and militarization, it all happens here as well. Yeah. Okay? The same idea, the same ideology that marks Palestinians as disposable has always marked black people as disposable in America. Yeah. The violence is not separate, it's integrated, and it's global. And if we want to speak honestly about global violence, then we must talk about selective urgency. Look, let's take a look at Sudan.
Yeah.
The civil war there has become the world's largest ongoing humanitarian crisis. Over 12 million